All right, welcome back to Orange and Blue football coverage. And this is a video that I probably should have made well before today, but it's not too late. As long as it's not before Florida's actual game tomorrow against Miami, then you know what? It's not too late in my opinion. So this video is going to be on 10 factors that can save Florida's season this season. Florida's season in 2024. A lot of these is basically in just improvements off of what Florida did wrong last year or what they did well, but they could even build upon that. So, in no particular order, play calling is one because we've criticized Billy Napier for a long time about how sometimes when it gets to certain moments in the game, his play calling would get conservative or sometimes a little too predictable. He's great at scripting drives on the opening possession or even scripting drives in the second half, but when the game goes on, he may lose touch of how the game is going. And that was a issue in the game against Arkansas, in my opinion. That was an issue in the game against FSU. It was an issue in the game against Kentucky, where it just felt like they had a sense of what he wanted to do schematically and philosophically, offensive wise, and he just could not make a necessary adjustments to what the defense was running against him. And not just even in some cases the previous year, I just felt that Napier could have done a better job calling the game than what he did. But hopefully, maybe being that he's in year three, maybe he'll finally, get it right and actually, have a better grasp of it. It's what got him fired as the offensive coordinator when he was at Clemson under Dabo Swinney. It was that a lot of Clemson people felt that his play calling was just way too conservative and that he did not do what was necessary to help his team throughout the games. So that's one area I think Florida could of improvement that could help Florida season out this upcoming year, starting tomorrow. Strength and conditioning. This was a big problem. This was a big problem for UF last season. Really, the last two seasons. Princey Umanmielen, who's at Ole Miss, publicly said that Florida had the strength and conditioning program of a Pac-12 team instead of a SEC football. A lot of their conditioning was good in terms of cardio, but it's not good if you're talking about at specific positions like offensive line, defensive line, where you're having to like run into 300-pound men 40 to 50 times in a football game, and having to do that throughout the course of the season. And Napier, made the hire of Craig Fitzgerald, who but then would leave after about a month to go join Bill O'Brien at Boston College, and then he made the move to Tyler Miles. And from what I hear, for the most part, the players really enjoy Tyler Miles, having him as their S&C coach, their strength and conditioning coach, and that the results have panned out pretty good. And people that cover Florida, both for the Gators and independently, say when you look at them, they're a lot more physical, and it seems like their practices that the strength and conditioning coach is making a big impact, but we'll see once the actual games come around. Clock management. Billy Napier has had a tough time with scoring points right before halftime and trying to walk into the halftime with extra points. He really only did that against South Carolina, where he got a field goal right before halftime, but he didn't really do that good of a job throughout the rest of the season. I also think sometimes he lets the clock wind down too much if he knows he's going to go for a fourth down late in the games. I think he did that in his opening game against Utah in 2022. Clock management, I think, especially now that you have a 2-minute timeout in college football. Now you're going to have to learn how to adjust with it, and now you have to learn how to use that to your advantage. Age and maturation, I think, is another factor that could help Florida's in their season. The fact that they have so many players coming back that are a year older or a few years older into the Napier system, with bringing in other seniors at the safety position, at the linebacker spot, at defensive line, at offensive line, and just throughout the whole team. And because Florida had a lot of freshmen play last season, and that resulted in a lot of technical mistakes and fundamental mistakes in the football team, and penalty mistakes as well. So now that you have a bunch of more guys that have been in college football for several years, and your first year guys last year are getting a year in maturity, that should really help your team. And now, when you couple that with a third year of the coaching staff, special teams, this is probably as a big of an improvement as Florida needs to make as well as anything else. They had a lot of special teams issues last year. 11 men lining up on the field, not having enough men on the field, too many men on the field, penalties, missing field goals. That is just a major improvement that Florida needs to make here, and that's why they made the hire for Joe Houston out of the New England Patriots. Penalties. Florida was undisciplined last year. You could see it in the Florida State game. You saw it in the Arkansas game. You saw it in the Utah game. You saw it in the Kentucky game. You even saw a little bit of that in the South Carolina game. They have to get better on that. You can't handcuff your offensive defense by putting them in your defense's constant third down shorts because of defensive linemen is lining up off sides, or backing your offense up because of a false start or an illegal procedure. You have to get better with that so it becomes easier for a football team to close out games. Expanding weaponry, it kind of goes to roster building. I think in having Badger and DK to go along with Trey and Arliss, and adding more depth to the running back spot with Trevor Etienne leaving but Montrell Johnson returning, expanding that weaponry for Graham Mertz, should help them out and should help them be better in the passing game and helping them get big plays to win some of those close matchups that Florida was losing last year. Pass protection has to be much better for Florida as well. So they have a new starting offensive line. Najee Harris is starting at the left guard spot. Cameron Waits won his starting battle position at the right tackle spot, and you have Damian George kicking from right tackle to right guard, and you have returning veteran players Austin Barber at left tackle and Jake Slaughter at the center position. So pass protection has to be much better. It's going to get tested against Miami tomorrow. It's going to get tested with Georgia and get tested with Tennessee, with James Pierce and Kentucky, and there's a few guys from Texas A&M. They're just it's a position. It's an area that really hampered Florida last season. That pass protection, run the ball, they were okay, but pass protection, it came back to bite them in too many ways, and that's probably what led to Billy Napier being conservative with his play calling, because he knew I have to get the ball out quick because my offensive line is not having to do a good job holding up. New defensive staff, obviously, we talked about Will Harris and Ron Roberts and Gerald Chapman at being the new position coaches for the team. The Florida's defense has been bad throughout this entire decade. They've been a bad defense since, quite frankly, I would probably say the second year under Dan Mullen. It's just that they got the timely sacks and turnovers when they needed it. You're going to have Jordan Castell come back. You're going to have your two starting corners and Moore and Jason Marshall Jr. returning. Shamar James, the leader of that linebacker group, he will be paired up with Pop Howard. So Napier really needs to bet on his defensive staff that they can, improve the defense enough and help take some pressure off of that offense, so where they can actually play to their strengths instead of having to play keep up because the defense is giving up big plays and giving up big touchdowns. If you look at the games against Missouri, LSU, and Arkansas, the offense wasn't the problem, but the defense couldn't stop anybody. So that's another big improvement. And like I said before, the game planning and the in-game adjustments, that's something that Napier needs to improve upon this year, which starts tomorrow. So that's really this is really it. It was just gonna be a quick video. And for Billy Napier, I've been critical of him. I've ridiculed him in areas where I think he deserves it, and I've defended him in areas I think he deserves it. This year is no excuses. There's no excuses for Billy Napier this year. You got yourself you made new staff changes. You got 3 years of your offense being installed. You got more talent at so many different positions. You obviously have the support of the institution, because they really seem to want to avoid having to make another head coaching hire. You have to win some football games in order to justify you being the head coach in Gainesville. So, Billy Napier, it's your time to shine.